Remember, as we're cleaning each room in the house, we're cleaning for health, not just appearance. Before you begin cleaning, please refer to the client notes in your work order. You'll need to also refer to the laminated cleaning checklist on your clipboard. Make sure that you have checked to see if the client has any add-ons. Today we're learning about dusting. The first thing you're going to do before you dust a house is you're going to take out your phone and pull up Maid Central and look at the client's work order. You're going to look for special notes and read all the notes for the home instructions that apply to every clean, as well as the job instructions that apply to only that day. Every client's a little different, and there are many times we have notes of caution that say to not touch certain things or to skip certain rooms. So the next thing you need to look at is which package are we cleaning for today. Our standard is our premier clean, and when we do a premier clean, we're focusing on dusting people's furniture and knickknacks. However, when we are doing a premier clean, we also do 1 of 4 dusting rotations to maintain our deep clean. So when we did our deep clean, we did some extra things. If you're going to be on a deep clean today, you will do more than just dusting furniture and knickknacks. The additional things that you will be doing fall into 4 categories: hand wiping, baseboards, blinds, doors trim, lights and fans. That can be reached on a 2-step ladder. If you're just doing a regular clean, however, you'll look on your work order notes in Maid Central and it will highlight at the bottom which one of those rotations you're dusting today. So as we begin dusting, the first thing we want to make sure is that we have all of our supplies with us. We have our dusting wand here. This particular wand is washable and it has an opening on the end with a couple of snaps. It can be used with this pole, however, it can be used with your mop pole, an extension pole, or several other poles. So as you put it over the pole, if you have this pole, you can snap it on. If you don't, no worries. If you take a trash liner, tie it like a shoestring, that will secure it. Super handy when you're going up maybe a 10-foot extension pole to do your high dusting. This is typically used for your baseboards and sometimes up along the top of trim. The next thing we have is our Swiffers. Lots of people prefer a disposable Swiffer, but a lot of people also like our reusable ones, so that you'll have either of those as your choices. And then our glass towels and our microfibers. So our glass towels, we have 2 different kinds. This is a Huck towel. Huck towels are reused, recycled surgery towels. They have no lint and are excellent for large pieces of glass. They can be used for mirrors as well, but they are definitely great for sliding glass doors and office doors, things like that. This is a mirror wiper. This is not so great for sliding glass doors. It's also no lint, so it's terrific for glass. However, it's really meant to be used on a mirror that isn't too much work, or a handprint on a piece of glass, or a picture frame, the piece of glass on the front of that. It's just very small and very quick, and you really don't even need glass cleaner with it. The next thing we have is our microfiber cloths. Just due to the supply chain shortages, you're going to see 2 different colors, blue and green, and it doesn't matter which, they work interchangeably. When you use your microfiber cloths to dust with, you want to fold them into a square. So fold them once, fold them twice, and now you have 8 sides. As you're cleaning, instead of walking back to your bucket every time you get this side or this side dirty, you'll be able to flip to the other side or to turn it the other way around. If it gets too dirty, obviously go back to your bucket. If you're in a large home and you don't want to take your bucket around the whole home, you may choose to have 2 damp cloths and 1 drying cloth with you. And for most homes, I'm just going to have 1 damp cloth and 1 drying cloth, and it's nice if they're different colors, but they don't have to be. The next thing that we make sure we have is our dusting bucket. We put about this much water in the bottom, maybe a quarter of the way full, and just a little bit of disinfectant squirt. So our neutral disinfectant is just that. It's neutral like water. On the pH scale, it's just like your body. It can't damage anything because it's not acidic or alkaline. It's really important that you only use this product or just water. Do not use the client's products. When we put in our disinfectant, it's extremely concentrated, so you just open up the tip and put a tiny squirt. As you saw, that took just about 2 seconds. So the last thing we have for our glass towels is our little baby glass cleaner. It's super convenient size to just drop into your apron. I also like to put my glass towels on one side and my microfiber towels on the other. Some of you will even have a hook for your microfiber. Other people will put it in their back, or your Swiffer. Some people put it in their back pocket. Some people like to put it up here. It's really your choice. Remember, as you enter a room, keep in mind your rules for efficiency. You're always going to work high to low, and you're always going to go the same way around every room that you clean. So whether you're cleaning a bedroom or a great room, you'll want to go left to right or right to left, depending on which hand you use to clean with. Since I'm right-handed, I'll go counterclockwise around the room, ending in the middle. So in this video, we're doing an Airbnb dusting. You'll see as she's coming into the room, she's got her long duster with her. She also has a wet blue cloth, a dry blue cloth, her little light green glass cloth, her miniature glass cleaner bottle, and her huck towel. So she starts out by doing the long dusting. That can be up high on the top of the pitchers, the fan, the ceiling fan, which you'll notice she forgets to do at the beginning. So then after you dust things, it could spread the dust. So you want to get that at the beginning. What I love is that she's taking the time to really kind of get the couch looking great. She's fluffing the pillows, taking care of the back of the cushions where they're kind of getting mushed, refluffing them. And this is really the level of service that our clients are paying for. Many of the homes that we clean are in excellent condition. So when you walk in, you may be tempted to just quickly dust the item in the middle of the ottoman, maybe the entertainment center, and run a vacuum over it. But as you can see, the professional cleaning that we offer and that we do sell to our clients is much more than that. So she's putting all the tags down, zippers down, fluffing the pillows, and then you'll also notice that she's going to run her slightly damp cloth over it because she's noticed a little bit of dog hair. Also, if you have anything with texture like velvet sofas, you'll want to run your hand over it to make it look nice. Leather sofas, we're going to dust. So many times when you're doing framed art, you just need to dust the top of the frame and the bottom. But there are also times when you'll see things on the glass. So she's taking care of that. She's got her little miniature glass cleaner bottle in the apron, which is very convenient. You don't have to carry around the full-size glass cleaner. That's really just for the sliding glass door. As you can see, she's just asked for her huck towel, which she realized she forgot, and that's going to be for your bigger glass items. So she has her damp cloth with just a little disinfectant in that bucket, and she's using that to wipe under things. She'll be wiping her touch points like her light switches as she goes around the room. She should also wipe those remotes that you saw in the middle of the tray as well. So notice that she didn't do the glass on all the art. She did do those two items that needed done. Hitting that touch point with disinfectant cloth. Perfect. And she's just going right to left all around the room. A lot of times these big mirrors don't necessarily need the glass cleaned. The houses don't always have kids or people touching them, anything getting on them. So in this case, you'll see that she's just dusting it off, which is excellent. And she doesn't even have anything else to do with the glass cleaner. Now, if she had a really dusty mirror and she did take the glass cleaner and start to wipe it with her small green cloth, you might see smearing. She could go ahead and use an extra amount of glass cleaner and her large huck towel, and that would have taken it off as well. But certainly just dusting, it's the fast way to go, and it gets the job done great. The only reason you see her with a long duster there is that shelf with the knickknacks on it above the TV is really deep, and she can't reach the back of it. So rather than just wipe the front of it, she's reaching all the way back. So we're not doing the blinds on this rotation, so you won't see her doing those. But you notice she did pick up the bottom of the blind and wipe the windowsill. We do wipe all windowsills as we go throughout the house. Every clean. We strongly encourage you, and we do tell the clients, that we hand wipe most of the knickknacks. The duster, a Swiffer duster or a reusable duster, are used really when it's just not going to be effective or efficient to wipe the items. An example would be like a bookshelf with lots of shelves and lots of knickknacks. In that case, we would do it differently with a Swiffer and a cloth on only the shelf. So she's reaching all the way back into the back part. As people sit upon the couch, they're going to be able to see into the back portion. So if we only wipe just the front, it's going to be super obvious. Another thing is if this were hard floor, we would want to also run our duster or our cloth underneath the entertainment center, because sitting on the couch or even walking into the room, you'd be able to see that dust underneath the entertainment center. And professional cleaning does include removing that dust. Fluffing up the little poofs. Now it's going to be really important that we always take care of the rugs. The more expensive rugs tend to stay where they go. These are less expensive and they travel as they're walked on throughout the week. So she's taking care of that, taking care to kind of push down anything that's left up. And now she's noticed she forgot her fan. So she is doing that. Now, if it was particularly dusty, that it was going to be knocking too much down, then she would definitely have to get the stepladder and just wipe it with her damp cloth to avoid that dust falling. And then she didn't want to make the same mistake in this room, so she's dusting her lights and fans today. We have 4 rotations for periodic cleaning. It's always going to be lights and fans, or blinds, or doors and trim, or baseboards. And so if your work order states that we're going to do lights and fans, then you'll do them throughout the house. The only time we're hand wiping all those items is if it is a deep clean, or it's a client that has what's called rotational deep clean. We don't sell that package anymore. There's just a few people that have it. And in that case, we will also hand wipe any spots we see that need hand wiped. That being said, if you're walking throughout the house and you're doing your lights and your fans, and somebody has a pennant light, for example, over the kitchen, and it looks really not very good just being dusted, and that's kind of a showpiece in their kitchen, you're going to want to hand wipe those, even though we don't hand wipe all the rub throughout the house. Now, even though this client is not paying extra to have their furniture vacuumed, we're still checking it to make sure there's not junk. Since this is an Airbnb, we do a little bit more. So you notice she's doing what we call staging. She's straightening the blanket. You can lay them nicely or fold them nicely. Staging the pillows with the tags and zippers down. Grouping them nicely. Taking a cloth to wipe off any dust that could be building up on the back of the fabric, particularly behind where the headrests are. Wiping the windowsills in every room each time we clean at every client's house. Always hand wiping the banister and dusting the bottom rungs. Unless it's a deep clean, then we're hand wiping the entire thing, every single rung, and including the bottom after we dusted it. We would dust first to remove any buildup, but then we would also wipe it. But this is just a regular clean, so we're just hand wiping the top rail and dry dusting in between each rung. Now, you did see her straighten the magazines at the beginning. If you see empty glasses that somebody has, maybe drank some coffee and forgot their glass, or a candy wrapper, junk like that, you just go ahead and take care of that. Go ahead and put that glass in the dishwasher or in the sink. Wash it if, there's only a couple things. We don't do organizing and cleaning up too much, but if it's something that we can do in 2 minutes or less, we're always going to do it. And many clients do choose to add that, so you'll want to watch for that on the work order. Meaning, some clients ask us to take an extra 15 minutes and maybe clean up the toys or straighten a room above and beyond our normal 2 minutes or less of tidying that we would do. So this is super, super important. She's doing this before she vacuums. And it's, again, an Airbnb, so we're ultimately responsible for the presentation, above and beyond even a normal house, because we are the last set of eyes to see before the client checks in with a new guest. Before we get started with dusting the room, you have to disinfect the light switches and the door handles and any touch points around the room. Okay, so when we are getting ready to dust a room, you want to look at the furniture. Is it upholstered? And if so, are we vacuuming it? So you're going to need to look at your work order notes. Sometimes we are, sometimes we're not. It's definitely an add-on, so we're not doing it at a lot of homes. However, leather or leatherish furniture, it's like other furniture. It shows all the dust. So we're going to keep it dusted, and it's just real quick. We're not doing leather conditioning and things like that. That would be extra, and that's something we don't even offer. So we're going to just make sure that it's dusted, the parts where the dust gathers. If they have a dog, you're going to be focusing a little bit more on the seams. As you get to the lampshade, you can use your dry cloth if it's clean, which you should always grab another one if it's not. And that's going to work the best. There are certain lamps that you'll need to Swiffer. Do the top. I'm putting that away now because now I'm getting my wet cloth. Making sure it's folded so that I have clean sides. Do the top, the middle, and the bottom. Now sometimes I even do the main base. Usually you grab a lamp securely and slide it over as you slightly lift it. If you completely lift it up, sometimes the shades can be heavy and cause a problem with it falling. Always disinfect the remotes. Disinfecting the touch points around the room, including remotes, is something that we do sell to the clients. Now, for many of our maintenance cleans, the top and then down here is all we're gonna do. But when they have kids in the house, we often have to do the front because there's yuck stuff on it. So keep an eye on that. I'm gonna flip to a clean side because that was pretty dusty. The top is very dusty. So notice we're not scrubbing, we're dusting. Staging is a very important part of cleaning, and it is part of the job. Look for the zipper and make sure that you fluff the pillows and the zipper goes down. If there's any tags, make sure they're tucked back as well. Sometimes on an ottoman, you're gonna have like little holes. Normally just going like this around before and then wiping it is gonna work great. But if they have lots of crumbs, you actually have to get the vacuum and suck out each individual hole. That's usually only on a first time clean. Before we dust the shelves, after we're done with the blinds, we're gonna do the other art on the wall. So up here, the first thing you need to do is make sure it is secure. And I've already done that, but you're grabbing it with one hand, but I have another hand free. If I'm holding the duster in one hand and I kind of touch it and it falls off, I have no hand to catch it with. So always check things the first time we go to a house. So I'm gonna be going up along there. We're looking at the surfaces where the dust gathers, not every single square inch. So anything that sticks out is gonna have dust gathering there. Okay, so when we get to the top, the first thing we're gonna do is we're not gonna assume that this is attached. Use two hands the first time you're in a home and check it. A lot of times things are not attached. This is a little bit delicate, so I'm gonna choose to use a Swiffer on it, just gently. We're gonna get the Swiffer caught on these props and pull them off, so we're gonna be really careful with things like that. And then I'm going to wipe this. Now I've had that in my hand, I know how it is. Next time I'll just be able to grab it with one hand. In this case, this is all attached. Many times people's knickknacks have problems. They have pieces that are loose. So you just want to be really careful. there's a lot of dust up here. So if there's like a stairway up above this shelf, I would actually, after I'm done dusting, I would get on a stepladder and make sure that there's no residual little spots from my rag. But in this case, I've done a nice job, and there's no staircase above it, so it's fine. As I come down the shelf, I'm going to use my cloth to wipe all these things. I don't Swiffer things unless it's a bookshelf with lots of books, or it's just a whole wall of knickknacks. Then a lot of times I will Swiffer because it's a little quicker. In this case, I'm going to do a much better job with this. And so I'm just going to slide that out. As you can see, that's not attached, so that's why I slid it. I didn't pick it up. I'm going back around, put it back where it was. Sometimes when you go to set things down, they don't stay. In this case, see this picture frame? This little support swiveled. So the most important thing with dusting is to not damage anything. So I'm not going to pick this up, I'm sliding it over. I will pick a lot of things up, but not a giant piece of glass. Just going to slide it over. And then we're going to wipe the top of this frame and where the dust gathers right here. Now, if this was a first time clean, we would also have to either Swiffer or use a glass cloth on the glass as well, but it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to put my Swiffer away because all this stuff is going to be just as fast with a cloth, and it's going to not require me to keep switching tools. Don't want to switch tools over and over again. That takes a lot of time. I'm going to wipe that bowl in a second. I am going slow because there's a lot of stuff here. Usually people with modern stuff, you just don't need to. I'm going to flip to a clean side. Now, if you have a lot of stuff here and you're not comfortable picking up one thing at a time, it makes a lot of sense to take a mental picture and see how everything is situated so we can put it back normally, but then move everything over a little bit. Sometimes they'll have 2 rows of items, like they'll have a front row and a back row. In that case, you're going to take these things and either slide them over, or if there's no room, you're going to move them down to the next shelf. And then you're going to pick up one thing at a time like that, and then wipe under them. And make sure that's not going to fall over. Okay, you see how those fell off? And I even knew that those weren't attached. We're doing this at a family member's house, so I knew that. This is really common. You guys have to keep an eye out. A lot of times these little figurines are not attached fully, so just be super careful. This is a little flag from military service. So I do have to get this clean here. So sometimes it makes more sense to take your Swiffer when you have tight spaces like that and you want to clean them, and assume those were attached, then be easier, but I'm holding them. And that Swiffer just gets in between those grooves, and that's perfect. So with these little camels, in this particular case, that's easier. So our maintenance cleans are much quicker than this. We haven't dusted this house before. So. It was important. When I get to the bottom, you see that there's lots of books. So you don't necessarily have to use your cloth. You can, but a lot of times you have a whole big old shelf with books, and we want to Swiffer the top of the books because they get kind of dusty. So it's easier to use the Swiffer on that part. Make sure you include the bottom. Now I'm going to the next area. When we do a TV, we don't know what kind of TV it is and what the manufacturers said for people to do to clean the screen. So our company only offers cleaning with a Swiffer or a dry cloth. So in this case, we know that a dry cloth is almost always going to work great. So we're going to flip to a clean side, fold it, go across the top. I am going to go lightly across the screen. I'm doing the edges first, and then I'm going to wipe it very lightly. There are still handprints on here. That's just not something that we can do because we don't know what the manufacturer's instructions are. Some of them, when you press on them, it damages pixels, so we're just not going to do that. So when you have a piece that's really, really dusty like that and dark, it's very common when you wipe it and you pick up your cloth for there to be little bits. So you may have to run a dry cloth over at the end. In this case, we have quite a bit of area back there that we need to reach. And if you look back there, so if you look back there, you see there's a lot of space back there. And so that is going to be something I can't reach, so I'm just going to Swiffer it. And I'm going to go all the way across from the other side. That's good on that. So you can't see it when you're above, but when you kneel down, you see a whole bunch of dust here. So this is where I've already wiped it, but I'm going to take my dry cloth and I'm going to go along again. The other thing you can do is if things are really dusty, you can dry dust it first and then wet dust it. But in any case, you're going to need to do both. As you come to electronics, just watch the plugs on the back. But yes, we do wipe electronics, including the face of them, gently. And behind them as well. And usually we just pick them up. This is a really little piece, so I can pick up the whole thing. But if it's a bigger piece, like a DVR, we're just going to pick up just the front like that, kind of like a microwave. So on this piece, we tell clients that we don't go inside of their stuff. Now the exception is if they have a TV inside a cabinet, we do open it up and go inside the TV. So in this case, they have a family, little kids touching things means that we're gonna wipe this area too. On a house like a model home or a lot of our families that we clean for just have 2 people living there. In that case, I would only wipe here where they touch, and here where the dust gathers. But when you have a family, we're expected to wipe their little kid prints off. Wipe the base. This door has to be opened to get to it. Now I'm not going to put their movie away because they left that out there on purpose. If there was a whole bunch of them, I would tidy them up. And again, I'm wiping the side, but we don't do that every single time we go to a house. So if this was a maintenance clean, I would wipe right here, right here, right here, and here where the dust gathers. It's a first time clean, so I'm wiping the whole face of it, as well as the side. So when you have a crowded shelf like this top shelf right here with the airplane wings sticking out, they're going to bump each other when you move it. So the first thing you want to do is get whatever out of the way that is going to make it so that it's hard to clean. So I'm going to move 2 of these, and notice I have 2 hands. That's a terrible spot to put that. I'm going to put it down here so I don't bump it with my body. Okay, now I'm going to move this one over, and I'm actually going to Swiffer up here in this case, which a lot of times I'm going to wipe, but this particular piece of furniture shows a lot after a wet cloth has gone over it. So I'll put that there. I'm going to assume this is going to fall off. That's why I keep grabbing it. Once I see it's attached, it's fine to just hold it with one hand. That's the second one. Now this is the third one. Remember that your Swiffer is going to get caught on things and we don't want to break it, so be really careful. And I'll get the bottom one. It's a little big and it's really tippy. It's not well attached, so you can see that I'm leaving it sitting here on the shelf, and then I'm going to move it with 2 hands. It's barely attached. And I would let the homeowner know, hey, we noticed that this is not well attached. It never fell off, but just in case you didn't know that, it's barely sitting there. glass cloth. Now this is not attached, and that's pretty common with things like this. I'm not gonna pick it up and carry it around because it's very heavy. It's preferable just to leave it there, but I didn't want to line up dust around it. This is something we're gonna slide over with 2 hands, and then we're gonna push back. We're not gonna wipe around it because they'll see the lines. That was kind of crooked when we started, so I guess that's how it goes. I'll wipe our little birdie off, but not the whole thing. You'll notice I'm wiping just the flat spots where the dust gathers. I'm not doing the whole entire thing. And now that we've finished cleaning that room, we're going to go ahead and check our work before we move on. Here's a few commonly missed items that sometimes come up. Windowsills. Make sure that we clean all the windowsills at every house every time. We even open the shutters and dust behind them, as well as pull up the blinds and wipe the top part of the window frame. That's because that's where the dust gathers. Also, which rotation did you do? You have 4 rotations to choose from, remember? And you saw that on your work order, one of them was highlighted. So for example, if I cleaned baseboards today, that's great. But even though I'm not dusting all my lights and fans throughout the house, I'm still gonna look up and make sure that there's no cobwebs hanging off them or excessive dust. If there is anything that's noticeable, we do wanna grab that too. Next, make sure that you don't dust around things. In your training, it shows that we dust under almost everything. The only time we don't dust under something is if it's possibly going to fall or be damaged if we actually pick it up or slide it over. So make sure that you're not dusting around picture frames and different little knickknacks. The exception is if more than 50% of the surface is covered. If you, for example, see a coffee table or a dresser and it's completely covered with things, then that's something that we would go around. But that is the exception. Touch points are something that commonly we forget. So we want to do those first right when you go into the room and double check when you're leaving. And the most commonly missed item when we're leaving a room that we just dusted is our glass cleaner, glass rags, or Swiffers. So make sure you get all your supplies before you move on.